Hi, and welcome to You Rising, the podcast where we explore the personal and spiritual side of creating a wow life. I'm your host, Lorianne Rising. I'm an international award-winning author and an intuitive and spiritual mentor for women. And this is Mentorship Monday, where we get to share in the real life journey of a courageous woman. And today I have Catherine with me. She's the mother of 4 boys, a friend, a partner, a community member, and an entrepreneur. Thank you, Catherine, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious if you can just start a little bit by sharing what prompted you to come and be a part of this.
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I donated my kidney to a stranger in January. Uh, and that was one of the most inspiring to myself things that I have ever done. Um, it was an amazing journey for me. I know my recipient got a lot. I'm in contact with him. But I generally tell people that I got more out of the process than he got. I mean, really, I learned so much about myself. I was inspired. I was excited. I was happy. I really loved it. And obviously, I only have one spare kidney. And so afterwards, I had this moment of like, what's next? And so, I mean, how do you top the experience of donating a kidney, right? Like that, like I actually at one moment was like, oh my God, what if I have peaked on my self-inspiration? Which I know is a little bit crazy, but nonetheless. And so I sort of, I have a really great life otherwise. Like everything's really good. I have a wonderful partner. My kids are all good. They're all healthy. We're all healthy. I have a great job. I own my own company. And I want a little bit more. Like I want something to deep dive into with my mental creativity, emotional creativity, all of it. And so I realized I want to do this project, and the universe just keeps pushing me towards this project. And that's great. So much of the project I can do without a problem. And then there's this one little piece that kind of makes me go, King. And that is, I need to find $10 million of investors.
Is that all?
That's all. That's all. It's one of those things that, again, like I know the universe is saying, yes, you're going to get there and you're going to do this project. Like it has given me so many green lights. It's comical. And the really human side of me is having a hard time making the leap of faith around the financial piece. And so the question that I really wonder is like, how do I receive $10 million? Short of buying all the lottery tickets in the world, which I'm not going to do because that isn't the way to do it.
True. At least not statistically speaking.
Correct.
So I'm, at least it's not a very big question or a very, it's you got just a little one to work with. So that's wonderful. I'm teasing you a little.
It's little because it's very specific. It's big because holy cow, that's a lot of money.
It's interesting. Some of the things that I just kind of heard while you were talking were, one, you can't peak out. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about life. You can't peak out. There's going to be ups and downs and hills and valleys and, all of that. But there's definitely wonderful stuff. And you know that. And it's perfectly normal and natural to have that experience of the emotional sort of letdown or release after a high. I mean, and we do it after every project. And so that experience with the kidney was another project and a very meaningful one. So that I want to say that the downside of the roller coaster is just a natural part of the process. So you're in exactly the right place and time. And one of the things that comes to mind as far as the money goes, how good are you receiving $10?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. What is that experience like for you? How do you receive $10?
It feels inconsequential. And so it's like, sure, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Like I'm really good at finding money on the street. I'm good at like all sorts of like small amounts of money come to me all the time. That feels easy because they're always small amounts. And it's like, well, okay, it was $20. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. To the universe, there's no size. $10, 10,000, 10 million, it's all the same. It's only us as humans that make up a distinction. It's all just energy.
Yes.
So if you're really good at receiving $10, why not 10,000, 10 million?
Okay. My first thought is because if I find $10 million in a bag on the side of the road, I'm gonna worry. I mean, I know that's not what you're saying, but like that's my inner 8-year-old going, I don't know about that.
I hear you. So if you're open to receiving, though, it sounds like there's a part of you that pays attention, that follows the little hits, maybe walk down this street instead of that one, or, just noticing. So what would it mean to apply those techniques to finding small amounts, to applying it to the money you're searching for now?
I think for me, it will be to stay open always, like in the moment. Just uh, be open to the experience of finding the money. I mean, that's part of why I find the money is because I say, oh, I wonder what I'm going to find today. Like I wonder how the money's coming to me this week. Um, uh, and so being open to those moments and then also listening for opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
In the way you put it was, turn here or take this street. And, that's in terms of talking to people, that's certainly same idea. It's just people instead of streets. So,
Right.
oh, I should talk to this person. I should do this. I should move forward this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And it sounds like you're asking yourself some great questions to help you focus in on that energy, activate the reticular activator, and work with everything at your fingertips really well. So, how might you form a question to help yourself in this area also? What kind of question might that be for you?
Um, what's the one next thing I can do? Towards my goal. What's the one next thing? That's a big question that I think I need to be asking all the time. Because, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first one. And I think also, I think about my kidney donation, and it was interesting because while I knew I would get a lot from it as I was doing it, like as I was going through all the testing and et cetera, I wasn't doing it just for me, right? I was doing it for everyone. And so I think also asking myself within the project, what is there for everyone else? Because I know that it's easier for me to keep taking the steps and do the brave thing and do the scary thing when I attach the benefit also to someone else, not just me.
Absolutely.
So, how else is this serving someone else?
That's really cool.
Because I think for me with money, I have this fear, I guess it's a fear, that maybe it's greed. That like the project is all for me. And I forget that there's other people that get something out of it. So finding an investor, I'm not asking them to give me $10 million. I'm asking them to invest in this awesome project and hear all the awesome things about the project. And here's why it's great for the community and why it's great for my town. And it's great for, each of the investors, and it's great for the end users. And there's all these different aspects. And I forget all of that because I think I'm making it just about me. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And the fact that you're conscious of that is pretty much reason why it's not happening. So there is, that kind of paradoxical thing around having that sort of fear makes us conscious of it so it doesn't happen, basically.
Say more.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Say more.
So the fear of being greedy means that you're taking steps not to be. So that fear is sort of driving you to make sure that it's never realized. It's kind of a paradoxical type of relationship to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So embracing that can be really powerful as well.
Okay.
Because what I know about our emotions and have seen and witnessed and personally experienced over and over is all of our emotions have a very positive message for us. And we usually get those when it's a warm, fuzzy feeling or a good feeling, that's easy. But when the feeling is uncomfortable or something, that's challenging for us, like fear or anger or, jealousy or any of those things, we tend to push them away as if they're negative. When we embrace them, though, that positive underlying message is there. Like fear tends to be a survival instinct that is really trying to just keep us safe.
Agreed.
So if we can figure out what we need to feel safe, the fear dissipates, right? So it's the same type of thing. So when we're embracing our fears, they're really supportive in our lives. So if you were able to embrace the blocks between you and the money you're wanting, how might that shift things for you, do you think?
I'd probably ask more people to be involved in the project, and I would be more public about it. I can see that I'm scared to talk about it a lot because it's that give and take of like, well, if I don't talk about it, then they can't say no. Like my fear doesn't have to get realized, which is crazy.
And normal, yeah.
But nonetheless, here we are.
Right.
And so, it's like, oh yeah, when the marketing guy said, we probably want to do a press release, and I immediately went, no, we don't. apparently we need to do a press release, and apparently we need to actually do the art, do the targeted ads and make it something that people know about and not a secret. And that, I think that's a big thing, because I think I've hidden the project in an effort to hide myself. And what if I just went and did the project?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even that big of a project. I mean, come on, like $10 million projects happen all the flipping time. Like, it really isn't that big of a deal. And yet I'm acting like I'm, laying a new Keystone pipeline, which, like, there aren't even any negatives to this project. That's the part that when I really sit down and I'm honest with myself, there are no negatives to the project. Like, it's a slam dunk. Yeah.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what if you thought about it in terms of just smaller projects to put together?
I thought about that at first because I'm good at small projects. I can do small projects. And I think that the universe is pushing me to figure out the one big project, because I can't phase this one, do this in phases. It's all in or all not. Like, there's no, this is definitely a leap. And so I think that's part of the journey, is that leap. Is really just figuring this out and jumping and saying, $10 million is coming to me in some form, and here it comes. And,
very cool.
Letting go.
So it sounds to me like there's a consistent pattern. Like, every time there's that fear that comes up, there's the instant inhale and holding of your breath type of experience.
Yes. Yeah.
So a couple of things come to mind. I mean, you've kind of caught on to it already. Like, okay, every time that comes up, that's probably the next step, for one thing.
Well, that scares me. Let's do that.
Right, exactly. And what might be underneath that? I mean, when that comes up, maybe it's also an opportunity to ask yourself, okay, how can I move forward and feel safe and excited about this at the same time?
It's funny. I don't actually ever feel unsafe. Like, which is funny, because, I say I have these fears, but then I also say, if I sit down with them and actually look at them for a minute, like, okay, so if somebody doesn't want to give, doesn't want to, and not even give me, loan me or invest in the project any money. Okay, like, whatever. There's how many million people in my home state alone? Like, forget about the country. Like, there's so many people. So, am I actually scared of hearing a no? No. Am I actually scared of failing? Sure. But, it's not like I haven't failed before, and I've gotten up and kept moving, and in certain cases done the project anyway, after failing once. So, what do I need to feel safe? I think I probably just need to remind myself I am safe. Like, I don't know that I necessarily need something other than, come on, you already know you're safe. Like, just jump already. If that makes sense. Like, I almost need someone to push me in the pool, except I'm the one who has to sort of just push myself in the pool. I know how to swim. I've managed to get this far.
So how might that experience of jumping in be simple and easy for you?
I think it's just doing the next thing. And something I noticed when I was donating my kidney, which, I really think I donated my kidney so I could have the experience of doing it, because something that was so great about it is, for every appointment I had, I literally walked in on clouds.
Mm.
I mean, I just floated my way into every appointment. I skipped actually to one appointment. Like I was so excited. And I think it's that experience of really just being excited to do the next step, even if it's something yucky like getting a blood draw, or in this case, you know, having a hard conversation or a potentially hard conversation with a potential investor.
Mm.
You know, it's that skipping into it part that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and make it feel great.
So, I mean, I don't know much about a kidney donation, but I imagine some of the steps are pretty difficult. And for some people might have even been a little scary. You know, there's surgery involved and tests, and if you don't like
Yeah,
needles or all that kind of
correct.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, how did you get yourself into a place where you could skip into those appointments and feel that excited and be on cloud nine each time?
Because I knew I was supposed to do it. Like I just knew that it was the thing I was like, it was the next thing. Like I just knew it. And so I
Mm.
just held on to the knowing. Um, I just held on to the knowing. And so because I am actually terrified of needles. I used to have a clinical fear of them. I'm mostly over that now, clearly, because I was able to. But you know, like the day I went in to get blood work and I said, how many thousands of vials are you taking today? And she said, 21. Um, and I went, excuse me, what? and and all I could do was laugh because, you know, like this is my great, you know, this is a huge fear of mine, and now it's being realized. And it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like I asked her if there was ways we could make it easier. She actually had some great suggestions. We went with those. Like it was outstanding. And then the craziest part was she said right before she did the actual blood work, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm actually laying down by this point. I'm chuckling, and she says, I'll be right back. I need to go check this because normally it's 21 for kidney donation, but I only need to take 12 for you. Like even in the moment, it got easier because I
Mm.
stopped, you know, like I was like, really, this is my big fear. And just because I knew I was supposed to be doing this. I
Mm.
literally said before I started the whole kidney donation process, I think I'm supposed to do this. If I'm not, I guess I'll test out. And otherwise, I'm going to keep doing this until I get to the end. And that's what
Mm.
I did. Even when I got scared, you know, and I had to have a CAT scan, which requires a IV, which is even worse than a blood draw needle. Obviously, I had to have the surgery. Like,
Mm.
you know, I just held on to that knowing and that trust of what I was supposed to be doing. So I think that's what I need to do here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're anticipating my next question because it is like, you know, some of these past experiences are really worthwhile to apply forward. And that
Yeah,
sounds like one of them.
yeah,
So, how might you apply that? And even just the question, you know, you already asked yourself, like, okay, well, I'll just keep taking the next step. How can I take the next step? If it's not meant to be, something else will come along.
yeah, yeah.
So how else might you apply that?
Um, I think I'll actually apply that to investors, right? Like
Mm.
I'm going to talk to the next investor, and if it's not meant to be, then another one will come along. You know,
Mhm.
like just because this one isn't the right door, I'll go to the next door.
Mhm.
And I do think, you know, I do think that this is a very uh, like I think I'm supposed to do it. It's funny because this project involves building something, and it's funny because I have a vision board with, I don't know, my vision boards tend to be very full of words and pictures, but I mean I fill up every minuscule space, and the only word on my board twice is build. Like the only word on my board twice, which is shocking. And I've been looking at that board and I just noticed it.
Mm.
And I've been saying for 20 years that I want to build something. And I always thought that meant grow something,
Mm.
like, you know, like build a company. No, I think it actually means build something. Like I think I was being literal. So, holding on to that sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it can be both. I mean, that's okay too. And it sounds like everything you have done up to this point has brought you here. So you already have the skills, you already have the awareness, you already have the experiences. It's just applying it forward. And to the universe, there is no size. That's just your eyes. And I wonder if that's part of what the invitation is, to see it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because maybe that's part of the knowing that I needed, was knowing that I do have the skills and the experiences and the knowledge, and that all I have to do is apply it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because in the moments that I am not sure what to do are the moments that I'm like, this is so much different. And what if it's not, right? Like, what if this is not any different than $10, right? Mm-hmm. So what if it's just the knowing that it's the same skills?
Which it sounds to me it is. So I love those questions. I love that you ask yourself those questions and help your brain focus in that way. Because one of the things that I learned in my training, we went through a neurolinguistic training, and they taught us that the brain is unable to ignore a question. So what we ask ourselves truly does focus and define what we are looking for in the world. Because
that's fascinating to think about, because I love questions. So it's about what is the right question, or what is the question that will get me where I want to go. I don't want to say right, because I don't know that there are necessarily wrong questions, but
well, there are. I mean, if we're somebody who, we make a mistake, and there's a difference between, well, why was I so stupid? Well, your brain's going to start focusing on finding answers to that question. Yeah. But if you ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this and how can I apply it? Your brain will start focusing there. So it's about what's the highest and best question for the situation.
Yeah. So what's the best question I could be asking myself? Mm-hmm. Interesting. I love that question. Okay.
Cool.
I have so many questions now, like not for you, but just like for the project of like, I should, like, so, all right.
I can sort of see the wheels just started turning in like a whole new level. That's awesome.
It's like that. I was like, okay, I'm going to get off of this call and I'm going to go make a list of questions that I want to ask.
Nice.
Right? And really like hone in on that, because I think that's, and when I say I love asking questions, like I love asking questions. And so really hone in on those questions and really identify like which of the questions I want to focus on and which ones will take me to where I want to go. And how can, like, I know where I want to go. I can, we don't have enough time for me to tell you all the details of it in a detached way, of how this roughly is going to look. And I have so many questions now.
You could make a vision board of questions.
It's like that. It's like, okay, I got to do this. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel a little bit of that release. Is there anything else for you that you want to get out of this particular conversation, or should I get out of your way and let you go start asking questions?
Well, I just want to say what you said again so that it's cemented in my brain, which
Sure.
is that my brain, everyone's brain, will not let go of a question.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about asking the best question to get to where you want to go.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that, I think that's, I think that's really where I want to focus right now on in this project, is how to really ask those questions and figure out what the questions are.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons questions are used so much in marketing, because they hook us in.
Oh,
So
fascinating.
yeah, it's been something that's been long known, and in some ways, if we're not conscious of it, can be used against us. And so being conscious of it gives you that power to focus yourself, as well as potentially draw others in, and using that as a way to connect with them also. So it can be a
Yes,
powerful tool in many ways.
I love that. I can think of other places to apply this particular concept. Oh, okay.
Oh, it can
So
apply all over the place when we
I
want.
mean, really, I'm a mother of 4 kids. I'm like, oh, I need to, I need to start asking better questions with them.
Yeah, especially for boys. You've got your hands full.
Yeah, on a good day. Uh,
I only
um,
raised one boy.
I do think even numbers is better, but that's just me. Uh,
Well, I had a daughter too. It was just one son, but yeah.
that makes it better. Yeah. But yeah, uh, I think it's about asking, what is the best question to ask right now?
Yeah.
What is the best question to ask right now? And that's true of whether I'm asking it of myself about the project, or I'm asking it of other people, whether it's about the project or something unrelated, if it's my kids. What is the best question I could be asking anyone right now?
Yeah. And a couple that, if I can plant a couple of seeds, a couple that
Yeah.
I have used over the years, when I face situations where I'm really, really challenged and don't have an answer, or, sometimes you get, for me, it's kind of this internal battle going on, type of thing. I start asking myself, okay, how can even this be perfect?
Oh, that's a great question.
And just start letting go in many ways, which for me helps open my mind back up, because sometimes those challenging places can close our thinking down.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
so that just helps me open back up and start focusing on, okay, what are the possibilities here? How might this be perfect?
Yeah.
Another one that comes to mind is, okay, what is the highest and best intention that this can be for everyone who's impacted directly and indirectly?
That's a good question too.
Which brings in all the stakeholders
Right.
and a big vision.
Yeah.
And I think could circle back and address some of your fears or concerns around the possibility of being greedy, because the highest and best is never greed, ever.
Right. Right. And the reality is, how can you tell if someone's a narcissist, or how can I tell if I'm a narcissist? Do I ever ask,
If you are.
like, if I'm a narcissist, right? And so the very fact that I ask regularly if I'm greedy is likely a good indicator that that is not what I actually am.
Right.
Um, and just even remembering that concept is probably a good one too.
It's like the insane never ask themselves if they're insane.
Exactly.
Only the
Right.
sane ones do, which
Right.
I'm grateful I ask myself that question every day, I guess, but that's
Have I lost my mind? Yeah. Nope. I still got it because I'm asking.
right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So just focusing on that. Those are great questions. Those are great questions.
Oh, I love playing with questions too. They get me out of a funk every once in a while, because I do
Yeah.
struggle sometimes with anxiety and depression in my personal life, and so I will often use questions to help myself refocus before I start spinning too far. Um, and it's a great tool. It can really be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you're full of all kinds of...
I need to go make lists. I need some lists of questions.
Well, once they start, they'll never stop, and you'll be up a half the night with them. So
that's okay. It's better questions than up to half the night with something else.
True. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So before we close, is there anything else you want to cover or get out of this conversation?
No, I'm really good.
Awesome. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I will. Well, I'll let you go then and make sure you have the opportunity to write all those questions down before they disappear. Before we go, though, for those who are listening, if you or a friend of yours is going through a transition or facing a question or challenge or just have something you want to talk through, please visit my website at loriannrising.com. There's resources, mentoring opportunities there, and you can do a private conversation as well. You do not have to be on the show, but you are welcome to be. So check that out at loriannrising.com. And while you're there, do make sure to sign up on my newsletter. I do offer very special discounts, deals, and opportunities only to my newsletter list. And there's a couple of those coming up very soon. So check that out. And until next time, my friends, keep rising.